Hello and welcome to this episode of UFO Updates. We got some pretty cool stuff this week, and maybe one of the most monumental ones, the recent press secretary talking about the drone incursions, along with UFOs that are being seen across the world. If you enjoy UFO news, updates, interviews, case studies, and more, this is the channel for you. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to stay up to date to international UFO news, take a look at my website, ufonews.co. That link is in the description box below. Let's get straight into it. On Tuesday, January 28th, the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, mentioned to the world, really, stating, quote, "After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyist, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones, and in time it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy." Wow. Bombshells everywhere. And of course, a lot of people are grabbing on to just a phrase that she mentioned in those 30 seconds being, "and various other reasons." Okay, well, what are those reasons? Don't be leaving us hanging, Caroline. Tell us what is going on. But with all of this, it's an absolute catch-22. And here's why. We've been hearing about these drone incursions since Thanksgiving weekend. People have been seeing them not only in New Jersey, but across the entire East Coast, one of them being in the Hudson Valley in New York, which is a very notorious place for UFO sightings, but they're also being seen internationally. So that's just already like one nail in the coffin, and we're putting a lot of nails into this. But something that is rather odd here is that people, they think they know what's going on. They're like, oh my gosh, it's definitely military, or it's definitely extraterrestrial, or maybe a mix of both. This other half that it's like, I need disclosure from the Pentagon, from Congress. So they give this explanation, and I feel like 9 out of 10 people are rolling their eyes saying, that's not true. Why are they telling us this? Why are they treating us like children? And this story has only been unraveling more and more in all types of directions. And I've said this so many times, but I cannot emphasize it enough, especially if you're new, hearing this for the first time. And that is, we're getting another Roswell. Like, they are following the Roswell blueprint of, oh my gosh, it's saucers, to wait, no, it's a weather balloon, to wait, actually, it's Project Mogul. Which one is it? And all those conclusions, some quotation marks, are allowing people to get confused and disenfranchised with it. With this incursion, a lot of things happened. One, we had the previous administration, the Biden administration. The Pentagon spokesman said it's not ours, it's not foreign adversary, and there's that. We don't know what it is. Then it just began to unravel more, where they sat on that for weeks until December 17th, where the FAA, the FBI, and a few other organizations were like, actually, it is ours. Actually, they are hobbyist drones out of the several thousand reports that we received. But even then, it was odd because right when these drones were being seen, the FBI immediately got involved doing an investigation. If it was the FAA this whole time, what would be the purpose of the FBI getting involved and doing an investigation, right? If it was the FAA, why did we have a drone hearing December 10th with several very high-ranking people? One of them being Robert Wheeler, who is the Associate Director of the Critical Incident Response Group, part of the FBI. Then you have Brad Wigman, who was the Deputy Assistant Attorney General for National Security, part of the Department of Justice. And then Keith Jones, which is Deputy Executive Assistant of the Air and Marine Operations for the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. All of them said, I don't know what's going on. I really have no idea. Now, were they lying? That's up for you to decide. But it was a ginormous nothing burger of like, I don't know what's going on. It's so weird. It was exactly like that. And it was frustrating not only for the congressman asking questions, but also everyone watching and listening. They're like, obviously you guys know more, you just can't tell us. So that's just another nail in that coffin. But then it doesn't answer the sightings being seen internationally. Now, if we look at the sightings in England that took place in the end of November into December, those were over joint US English bases. Okay, so if the FAA was doing testing, I can get it. It was on these joint bases, sure. But what about the German bases? What about the sightings in Denmark? That was a little weird. And consistently, we're being told the narrative is that these are just mysterious drones. And it seems like that is a form of conditioning. It is the new swamp gas. It is the new Venus, where people want to control the narrative to not have this conversation spoken about. That's why they were saying, what you saw was drones. That's it. Nothing else. Don't ask any more questions. But of course, this area, or looking at New Jersey specifically, it is a little fishy. Because when we look at that state in particular, it is public knowledge that Lockheed Martin, there are several departments that focus on drone equipment. One of those departments is in New Jersey. Another one is in Colorado. And by the way, in December of 2019, in January of 2020, but there was a mysterious drone incursion over Colorado as well for several days leading up into a few weeks. Another one is in California. When we look at the paper trail in particular, Colorado and New Jersey, there have been the narrative of drones being seen in that area. And funny enough, there are Lockheed departments that specialize in drone equipment. So that's just something to add to this entire thing. But when we look at how congressmen have been looking at this over months now, when this first happened, you had mayors of New Jersey, you had congressmen of New Jersey saying there really is something strange going on here. And we are not getting the answers that we deserve. On top of that, there have been reports that there were helicopters that couldn't land in the designated area because of these mysterious drones. Also, almost none of these drones have been tagged. We don't know who are flying them. And the ones that we do, there was one in particular of a Chinese nationalist flying drones over Navy vessels. He was quickly determined who he was, and there were consequences that followed up to his decisions, to his actions, right? Now, out of these several thousand reports that the FBI and the FAA collected, only two people tops were collected by the law, really, where consequences were put in for them. Out of the other several thousand, we don't know what's going on. Now, the FAA says, they were ours, we were running testing. Then why did congressmen say, it's motherships from Iran? That's a pretty wacky statement, to say the least. Also, you have the New Jersey sheriff who said, which he mentioned to News Nation, my men saw these objects come out of the water in dozens. Now, can our equipment today in 2025 do that? I kind of hope so. We're pretty behind in our technology publicly, right? So if it was the FAA, sure, okay, fine, whatever, running testing. But the people, the sheriffs in New Jersey, the policemen in New Jersey specifically are stating these objects are a threat. This is not a funny issue. And the Pentagon for weeks said they're not a threat, they're not the enemy. And we're hearing that same narrative today with the new administration. It's frustrating, and people aren't buying it. Not even the newly public UFO whistleblower Jake Barber. He says, quote, the activity there was not FAA approved. I know firsthand. I was assigned there specifically to look at the debacle from an FAA violation standpoint in order to give a basis to the FBI. Someone is not presenting the whole story to our new president. Now, you can take it or leave it. If you believe him or not, I'm not going to tell you one way or the other, but I just find it very strange that he even spoke about this, even addressed this publicly after coming out to News Nation not too long ago, talking about an egg-shaped object being retrieved, part of the UFO retrieval program that he was once a part of. Now he's talking about this. From a public standpoint, it's very confusing. You're like, where do I look? What am I looking at? How do I do the research for this? And if you started from the beginning, as soon as this happened, you're following the story, it's easy to see the flaws. But if you're jumping into this for the first time after the new press secretary talked about this, I can definitely see how people are confused. I get it. It's complicated because you're getting all these different answers. None of them are adding up to one another. What's the final conclusion? We're probably never going to receive that answer from the government. It will come from the people. It might come from another mass sighting. It might even come from the science where they are collecting the data and their bias is in the storage room. That would be nice, right? But it will not come from the government. We will never receive a straight answer from them. It's always going to contradict the sightings and the evidence. Always. And as I stated a little bit earlier, they are just following Roswell blueprint from 1947. Here we are in 2025, and we're getting the same hodgepodge, mix, blah, blah, curry powder of confusion. But something that I really enjoy talking about, aside from how the US government is addressing this, which is always fun, it's sightings that are being seen internationally. And over the last few months, to be specific, there have been very strange UFO sightings in and around airports. Istanbul, they have them. They are seeing strange things in the sky right next to the airport because pilots at the Sabiha Gökçen Airport have reported mysterious, unidentified flying objects on their radar over the past several days, prompting extensive but rather fruitless searches across the air, sea, and the land. Multiple pilots have received traffic collision avoidance system warnings, with one reporting, quote, "On final approach at 300 feet, we received a traffic alert. It could be a drone or an aircraft for your information." We're seeing it here. Doesn't matter what country you're in, drones are becoming the new thing. You cannot fly drones in and around airports or runways. It is a hazard for pilots. It is illegal. And yet, over the last few months, I would say into the last year, these reports of strange objects being seen over airports internationally, they're being classified as drones. Breaking laws. They are breaking the law. They can't do that, but they're doing it anyway. Rebellious, I see. The control tower acknowledged, stating, quote, "Sir, we have been dealing with this for the past 2.5 hours. Several flights before you also received this warning. We have reported it to the coastal authorities." We're never going to get an answer after that, are we? No, we're not. But these international reports just gives validity to the ones taking place everywhere, right? Something isn't adding up. And for the press secretary spokesman to say, oh, they're not the enemy. Okay, then what are they? Now, there have been ideas, like, let's back this up. Let's just say for a moment, they are extraterrestrial. Okay, let's just go on that. Just for now. There have been so many conversations, public testimony, and narratives that they're friendly, that these entities that are operating these UFOs are not a threat, right? They are either observing humanity, they're doing something or other, but they're not harming our civilization, our natural growth, right? These kinds of things. But there are others that are stating, no, these are terrible. These are demonic type entities doing terrible things to humanity, such as alien abductions. 9 out of 10, you're not going to hear a positive experience. Overall, yes, there are a few where like it was actually great and they healed me. Awesome. Overall, they're very scary. They feel threatened and not the best things happen to them, right? Now, it just depends on whatever boat you're on. Do you see them as malevolent or benevolent? Maybe we're dealing with the mixture of things, but for the ending of that speech given by the press secretary of, they are not the enemy. That's interesting because from a human mentality, anything that we do not understand, they are the enemy. And people are going to say, Cristina, that's not true. It is. Everything that we do not understand is a threat. It creates fear within us. That's the same way that when children are in their bedroom, it's dark at night, and they see a corner that they just can't really see where the one wall meets the other, fear is placed within them. They are scared because they cannot see, because they do not know what is going on. The unknown scares others. And when it comes to UFOs, extraterrestrials, because they are not understood, they're scary. Now, for her to say they're not the enemy, it's a little reassuring. I'm like, okay, let's go invite them for tea or something, right? Have a little bit of a chat. That'd be nice. Simultaneously, it could be a little scary of like, what's their motive? What are they doing here? What's going on? Why are they flying these objects across the world for centuries? That's been reported. UFOs have been seen for centuries before the creations of satellites and drones and things like this. Also looking at Istanbul, which I found very interesting. Here's a little fun fact for the day, is that Istanbul did have a UFO museum. It was only one of the 4 international UFO museums and the only one in the Middle East and in Europe. It was created in 2001, but it shut down in 2011. Right after that, they wanted to be a mobile museum where they put all their stuff in a truck and they stop in different parts of Istanbul. But that didn't last long either. Now, this museum, before it closed down, it was aimed to educate visitors on the UFO phenomena, obviously, with exhibits covering global UFO chronicles, sighting maps, archaeological evidence related to extraterrestrial connections, and famous incidents like Roswell and Area 51. If I knew, I would have gone. That would have been so fun. It would have been so cool. And it's crazy that there are only several in the world UFO museums. When are we going to make one? That'd be so awesome, wouldn't it? And that's my little fun fact to end today's show. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button right down below and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you know others that are interested in UFO news or you want to keep them up to date, share this video and ufonews.co. That website link is in the description box below. That is it for today. I will see you next time. Be safe and remember, keep your eyes on the skies. If you enjoy the strange and the mysterious, UFOs, the paranormal, and cryptids, this channel is for you. So make sure to subscribe as I do 3 videos right here every single week, and hit that notification bell so you do not miss any of the bonus content I post right here.